When a person is hungry, the obvious remedy is for them to get something to eat in it, of course. However, it is important to note that there are some certain food you should never consume on an empty stomach. You know, these foods are just food that you should never take as your breakfast, because taking them as your breakfast or as a first meal of the day on an empty stomach tends to lead to some kind of discomfort in the stomach, and you don't want that. Anyway, you're welcome to Wisdom Yard Online TV, and this is Lifestyle Show with Aishomiko. You know, the holy sexy sugar mommy Blakers, I won't forget that. And today I want to talk about the 5 foods you should never consume on an empty stomach. As I said earlier, foods that you should never consume on an empty stomach. The first is spicy food. You know, spicy food should never be consumed on an empty stomach. Spicy food tends to have in them, you know, you might just feel like, oh, it's actually a very good one and I just love it, I just want to enjoy it, of course. But you should never take it on an empty stomach, because eating such food on an empty stomach can cause you some discomfort, like having diarrhea, having stomach upset, and you don't want that to start your day or anytime you decide to eat. So having that kind of condition is not one thing you want. So you should never take a spicy food on an empty stomach. Eating spicy food on an empty stomach can also increase the odds of getting some kind of acidic reaction, some kind of irritation, and even can impact your digestion. It can even cause indigestion. So you don't want that to start your day, neither do you want that any time of the day. So you should not take spicy food on an empty stomach. The next are sugary foods. When we talk about sugary foods, they are foods that contains a whole lot of amount of sugar. You know, food like processed foods like fruit juices, any food that has a lot of sugar in it, you should just avoid them, because taking that on an empty stomach can lead to some discomfort also. More so, you should know that you should never consume sugary food on an empty stomach, because it tends to lead to overburdening of your liver and your pancreas, and also the body wouldn't be able to produce the enough amount of insulin that is necessary for the blood level, the normal blood level of the insulin. It won't be able to produce it if you consume sugary food at the beginning of the day or even on an empty stomach. The next are citrus fruits. Citrus fruit like oranges, like lemon, like lime, you know, any citrus food, you know, you shouldn't consume them on an empty stomach, because this kind of fruits tend to have high amounts of citric acid, and that is just the reason they have a kind of sour taste, you know, this kind of sour flavor. So you should avoid them on an empty stomach. And even for people that have underlying health condition like heartburn, you should steer clear of taking the citrus fruit when it's that you've not eaten anything on an empty stomach, because you know, as an individual that has heartburn, you already have your food pipe irritated. You know, you have an irritated food pipe, and taking a citrus fruit that has high level of citric acid tends to cause more irritation, and it is something you don't want, obviously. So you should not consume citrus fruits on an empty stomach. It can also impact your digestion. It can cause some kind of burdening when it comes to your digestion process. Moving on, we have yogurts. Yogurts are very rich in a lot of nutrients, and it's something you want to take almost every time. But please do not take it on an empty stomach. This is because the yogurt tends to lose all of its nutritional value when consumed on an empty stomach. You know, an empty stomach has in it some kind of acid that tends to kill the lactic acid that is produced from this yogurt. So consuming yogurt on an empty stomach is just like not having anything, because the nutrients you're supposed to gain from the consumption of yogurt, it's not even gained. You can't even say, because it has already been killed. So you should consume your yogurt every other time except on an empty stomach. And the last but not the least is a cup of coffee. Okay, you know, a lot of people tend to take coffee to start up the day. You know, they just grab a cup of coffee and at the end of the day, the rest of the work. But please do not take a cup of coffee on an empty stomach. This is because it tends to lead to the secretion of hydrochloric acid, and it can in turn cause some kind of gastritis, bloating, or even discomfort your digestion, it can cause indigestion. So you should never take every of those food I've mentioned on an empty stomach. I hope you learned something, because I've learned something and teaching you has given me the joy. So please subscribe, like, share, and even follow every of our social media platform. And until next time, I remain Ashomiko, your #1 sexy sugar mommy of Lagos.